All right, everybody. So I will wait a little bit here before we get some people, so we can get some people in here. Just thought we'd do a live stream here and check out the storm that is incoming here in the Bay Area and eventually spreading down across Southern California. Pretty intense system rainfall wise. Already got some flood advisories out there across some of the Bay Area as we speak. And you see guys got some very heavy rainfall ongoing right now across some of the Bay Area and some of the moving across some of the Sacramento area as we speak. And that's going to continue on over the next few hours. And you kind of see that rain starting to emerge here across some of the Southern California Doppler radars. You can see the strong jet stream kind of pointed right towards Southern California. So anyway, we'll wait a little bit here and try to see if we get some people in here to chat about this and see what you guys want to talk about and go over some of the latest with the model runs as well. So let me see if this is working here. Looks like it is. So I'll go ahead and speak. That's going to get... Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too bad there. Let's see. So we've got some people filtering in here. Welcome, everybody. Hope you guys are having a good night out there. And if you want to, let me know where you are and what you're seeing and whatnot. It looks like Central California, the Bay Area, out towards Sacramento, a little bit north of the Bay Area, is getting hit pretty hard right now. In fact, let's go to a little bit closer view of things here. Yeah, looks like some heavy rain just went through San Francisco out there, and it's about to start knocking on the door here for Sacramento. Looks like Stockton's going to be up next year as well. Pretty intense storm. Cupertino, San Fernando Valley. You know, the snow level should be up around 6,000 feet plus, I believe, is what it was at last time I checked. Yeah, and Russell, that's a good question too, because the MJO is very similar to El Nino, and it can change patterns with Rossby waves and ridges and troughs because it adds some of that tropical moisture the same way El Nino does. So sometimes the Madden-Julian oscillation can actually interfere with El Nino a little bit here if it sets up further off to the west there across some of the maritime continent. But sometimes it can actually help enhance it a little bit also. 60 in downtown LA right now. Yeah, you guys got some rain coming here over the next bit as we go through tomorrow morning. Here's the latest North American model. You can see it's picking up that rain fairly decently, but it's really not capturing the full extent of this. This is about right now as we speak, and it's actually quite more widespread. In fact, if I show you the Doppler radar, you can see just how intense some of this rainfall is. If we zoom in a little bit, you see Concord right there. I mean, you're talking about Hercules here, and American Canyon is right there. There's Napa and Fairfield or Sonoma, but extremely heavy precipitation. I wouldn't be surprised even if you heard a clap of thunder in that as well. If we back it a little bit more here, you can see Sacramento right there. There's Woodland and Davis also. Yeah, looks good. We got about 150 people in here already. There's actually a flood advisory. It looks like, yeah, going on, expires in 31 minutes, but they're talking about minor flooding in low line and poor drainage areas, water over roadways, overflowing poor drainage areas. And this is Doppler related stuff here. I mean, so much rain is falling in a quick amount of time. Already up to an inch of rain has fallen in some areas, and you can see it's got a list of areas that are under this flood advisory as we speak. Trying to see if there was any. Doesn't look like San Francisco is in that flood advisory currently right now, but this goes on to for about another half an hour here, not 7:45 Pacific Standard Time. And this program I'm using here is Radar Omega. It's a pretty nice desktop app, and you can kind of see the overlay of the excessive rainfall. There's the slight risk in the yellow here, and then you can see the marginal, how it works its way down the coastline, and you can see this heavier rain starting to roll in. And what was that I saw there? Let's go ahead and... So you can pause this too as well. If I hold this down, I believe it, there it goes. So if you look right, if I can do it right, here we go. Pause. Okay, here, back it up. You can see right there, if we zoom in, you can see a lightning strike associated with that activity here. And that's moving towards Monterey. Yeah, eventually across King City as well. San Luis Obispo is going to be next. But we do have some precipitation coming for Southern California. You can kind of see it already off the shoreline there. Catch up on some of the chat here. Yeah, it looks like, I mean, some of San Diego and Los Angeles going to get some pretty heavy rain tomorrow. I mean, the models are showing some areas getting up over an inch in a 6-hour period, even higher amount, especially across some of the higher terrain also. I'm going to go back to the Bay Area radar here because this is too good to not show right now. Just some extremely heavy rain coming in here. Some gusty winds also out there, especially across the coastal areas. Yeah, thank you for the kind words, everybody. Amalia, believe that's pronounced it. Long Beach down the LA Metro. Yeah, there's the potential for Los Angeles. It might be a little bit hit and miss, but there's going to be some big precipitation amounts across some of Southern California. In fact, let me show you some of that here as I'm talking about it. Let's go. Actually, that's the wrong one. Let's go to this one. And this is the North American model hot off the presses. You can see where that thunderstorm activity is going on now, and you can see it kind of approaching Point Conception here. And you can see some of these heavier showers. And this is going to be starting on the morning tomorrow, actually quite early across some of Southern California. And again, lightning, thunder, some gusty winds here, and some very heavy rainfall rolling in. Sipe, thank you very much for the generosity. Very generous of you. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. And then this storm is going to move through. And I'm starting to get a little bit excited about the extended forecast as well. We've got some really... we got a pretty strong signal, honestly, as we go towards the end of the month here on both the GFS and the European, with bringing some pretty dynamic storm systems through the area here. Yeah, so Bakersfield. Yeah, you're going to get some rainfall down there as well, too. I mean, Bakersfield would be right here. Let's see, these winter storm warnings are up for now. When are these when are these warned for, actually? So winter storm warning is above 7,000 feet here for some of the southern Sierra. Heavy snow expected. Snow total accumulations 8 to 16 with local mass up to 20. This is from 10 p.m. this evening. So this is this next batch here rolling in here. And this is going to go all the way on in through 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. And you'll see if we go up further north here, I'll click on that one. This winter storm warning goes for about 6,500 feet plus. Additional snow accumulations, 8 to 16 inches. And this goes all the way up through tomorrow night, 10 p.m. And that includes some of I-80, Donner Pass, Highway 50 over Echo Summit, and Carson Pass on Highway 88. Thanks for the detailed and daily updates. Thank you very much. Yeah, you know, we're not doing that great as far as the snow water equivalent here. So Lake Tulare, I got to pronounce that right. I keep pronouncing it wrong. Lake Tulare out there. I mean, it's hard to say because I don't want to say anything on how long that lake is going to last, but I've heard that it could be, you know, a year or two. And if we get precipitation consistently over the next couple of years, it's going to hang around. But, you know, there's that, you know, how it goes here across California. We get really that boom and bust. And I have a feeling, I shouldn't even say it, but I kind of have a hunch that we're going to be headed towards the active pattern. The models have just been pointing at it. And of course, it lines up with El Nino. And I'm actually showing right now the European as of this morning. That was the 12Z run. And this was yesterday afternoon. So this is the most recent run that is run out about 15 days. And if we put this into motion, you'll see we get a bit of ridging here. We get a bit of a break as we go towards this next weekend here coming up. But then the jet stream just gets really active here. And it's kind of been flipping and flopping on just how these individual systems are going to unfold. But you can see the very strong jet stream that would be associated just north of Hawaii into California. And you can see some of this troughing, some dynamic storm systems here, and multiple rounds potentially also. And you can kind of see that extend off into the future there as well. So the signal continues to be there, and we're getting a bit closer here. It's going to be, you know, at this point, you're starting to look at about 180 hours out, which is still a ways out there. And it could still change. It could still totally take this away. But pretty good signal there. And if we go to the GFS, and that's the 18Z, that's hot off the presses here as well. If we back this up, I have not looked at the 18Z GFS, but let's see what it says. And you can see it's comparing that versus this morning's. But you see, it's still got these storm systems rolling into California here. You see the strong jet stream kind of continuing right into the state of California. That would be a pretty dynamic atmospheric river potential here. But you can see the models are still flipping and flopping back and forth on the exact timing of these systems here. It's not, you know, it's not worth getting caught up in on the individual details of these systems as we go just yet. and the GFS is just doing its funky chicken thing here at the end of the run, which means basically nothing. The reason why I'm looking at the GFS versus the European right now is because the European shows it, and then if the GFS shows it, it kind of gives you a bump in confidence. So looking at that, that's really the only reason to look at the GFS a lot of times, in my opinion, is to, kind of see if it lines up with the European. And if you get that model agreement, then you can kind of get a bit of a bump in confidence. Yeah, you guys, California is just typical boom and bust. I mean, a lot of times you'll go periods with not much, and then all of a sudden the fire hose gets turned on sometimes, like last year, and it just never stopped. And sometimes it can go a while, you can get really down periods for months across much of the Southwest USA. And not atypical to go through long periods of dry and then just get slammed with a series of storms and then just kind of shut off that spigot again there sometimes. But if you guys are just joining out there are some flood advisories up towards the Bay Area. You can see the very heavy rainfall that's been coming on. And if you're in any one of these areas, Santa Rosa and Napa and Sacramento is coming up next, you don't need me to tell you that some very heavy rainfall is occurring out there. And there is some potential urban and small stream flooding out there, mainly north of San Francisco right now. But some of this is working down. We had some heavy rain move through the Bay Area here in Berkeley, for example, Walnut Creek also. Catch up on some chat here. Yeah, we need that snow across the higher terrain. Want to keep it going. I mean, we've had systems moving through. There just haven't been similar to last year. I mean, we had a couple storms that were just dropping, snow measured in feet last year, and it just seemed to continue on, for much of the season. It was just a very impressive year. It was kind of that typical boom time for California, and it's not been too bad here, but we do need to pick up the game here across some of the Sierra Nevada for sure. Yeah, I don't see any winter weather advisories right now. We can actually look at Big Bear, in fact, as well. We can go to the NAM 3KM. Let's go ahead and look at winter, and we'll just do the total snow Kuchera, and we'll run this through. This is hot off the presses, 0Z run. And you can see a little bit of snow fly in there. I mean, there is going to be some snowfall, especially across the higher peaks of Southern California. It shouldn't get down too low. I think the snow levels are generally going to stay up 7,000 feet plus here across Southern California. And the cool thing about some of these maps is you can actually zoom in a bit more here and kind of see some of those snow totals pile up as we go through Tuesday morning. Then we're going to shut things down a bit as we go through this upcoming week. But then we start to turn our eyes to that jet stream reaching across the Pacific Ocean. And I believe I have one of that, here. So this is actually this morning's European as well. And so that would be the system kind of moving through there. And then we get the ridging, and that's going to give us a bit of a break here as we go towards the end of the week. But look at this just extended jet, just pure straight shot right off of Asia and across Japan, north of Hawaii. And this one just continues to show up in the models here. So starting to gain some confidence in that. And then you can see a system like that dip in the jet stream would bring a very powerful storm into the state here. But again, we're looking way out here. So I have to be really careful here not to start alarming people as to what's coming up. So we're still over a week out on this jet extension coming across the Pacific Ocean. I should start an OnlyFans. That's a good one. I don't even know how that. I wouldn't even know how that works. Yeah, it's been tough sledding across some of Southern California for sure. So let's see here. I'm going to put this into motion and let this run through. Rain just now starting to pick up in like Dixon, Fairfield. Yeah, some pretty heavy rain in there. The cool thing about this app too, check how far you can zoom in on this. You can see Napa Soda Springs right there. You can see like these really small individual roads. And if, for example, if I go to like Sacramento here, and I zoom way in, you can see these individual streets. And I mean, it's got like restaurants and all kinds of stuff here. So you can see the precipitation and whatnot. It's a pretty cool app. It does cost, but everything good usually does. Sacramento's actually got their own radar here also. Doesn't seem to be picking up as well, though. And also, let me show you guys this here as quickly. Let me see if I can bring that back up. That is not the one we wanted. I keep doing that. And why am I bringing up that? But if we go to... This is ongoing right now. You can see there actually is quite a bit of lightning off the coastline here. And this is going to bring some thunderstorms across, mainly south of the Bay Area here, but across Southern California tomorrow and during the day. That you're probably going to hear some lightning and thunder out there if you're out and about, for sure. There's a pretty interesting look at this jet stream. You can see this thing racing from well beyond Hawaii here also. Is that all lightning out here too? Look at that thing off to the northwest of the Hawaiian Islands. Look at all this lightning out here. And look at how much cold air has just spilled down across the Pacific Ocean. Just an amazing shot there. Look at that big time jet stream right here. Big temperature gradient, powerful jet stream, lots of cold air spilling down across Pacific Ocean. And just the amount of lightning back there is just amazing. I haven't checked out whether Hawaii is going to get any of that precipitation or not. Been so tuned into the Pacific Northwest in California here. Steady rain in Durham currently. Last severe torrential rainfall during it was January 2011. It was 3 hours of heavy rain nonstop. Yeah, it does have that El Nino flavor to it. I mean, that's kind of typically what goes on here. We have this warmer water here across the equatorial Pacific. So you can imagine the poles are cold, the equatorial regions are warm, and then you give that little bit of a boost there to El Nino. So all you're doing is you got that warmer air down here, and so you're casting a stronger gradient. And that gradient is what powers the jet stream, and that's what can power these Rossby waves and these troughs into California. So that's why, that's why people try to lean towards telling you that El Nino is generally wetter than normal in California. That doesn't always turn out like that, but it's a pretty good signal. Yeah, I mean, somebody asked me about that being Pineapple Express earlier, and I mean, it kind of is, and it kind of shows it there on the clouds as well. I got more technical than I should have. I kind of talked about, maybe, maybe not, but it is a little bit of an atmospheric river feature here. No rain yet in Salinas. Cindy Montanaro, thank you for the live stream. Yes, glad you guys are here. Heavy rain moving through St. Helena and Napa Valley. Half an inch of rain in half an hour. That's a nice downpour right there. Yeah, this thing's got a nice subtropical tap down here. You can see this is what's known as the intertropical convergence zone. And you can actually see, if you look closely, you can see all the lightning goes on there. That's pretty typical for the intertropical convergence zone here. And you can see this atmospheric river feature has a tap all the way down to that very tropical air mass here. There's some nice stuff you can do here also. If I go to, so this is the GOES 18 also, and this is kind of shows you the air mass characteristics, and you can see why this jet stream is strong here. You can see that very cold air out over the Pacific Ocean and that very warm tropical and subtropical air here, and that is what, that's what causes these gradients, temperature difference. Sprinkles just north of San Jose Fremont area. Yeah, crossing my fingers that we can get these storms in here as we go through early February. I mean, if you guys remember the El Nino of 97, 98, we had very intense storm systems roll through for, I think, a 2 to 3 week period into California also. So maybe we'll get lucky and something like that will happen. And we can keep the damaging flooding away, though, however, as well. There's always that flip side. It's like a double-edged sword here where you're rooting for precipitation, but at the same time, then you start to cause flooding problems and you start to cause damage, or you start to get big waves and high tides at the same time. And so, yeah, there's always a give and take with the atmosphere. Windy along the coast. San Fran Bay Area is raining. I know people don't like it when I say San Fran. I said that sometimes, like when I have friends in San Francisco and some family, and I said San Fran a couple times, and they scolded me. Truckee in 97, 98. Yeah, Truckee gets pretty chilly in those overnight lows a lot of times too. So there's another thing you can do with this app also. You can go to radar and you can go to MRMS, and this shows you actually the combination of all the Dopplers here of what they're picking up. It doesn't pick it up with the same resolution or not as the single Doppler radar site, but it does kind of capture the gist of what's going on. In Sacramento, you guys are going to get a pretty good slug of rain here, heavy rain at times incoming. Fujiwara effect in Japan. I have not checked that out yet. I'm going to have to look at that. Yeah, there's also signs of the Madden-Julian oscillation getting pretty active here as well. I have not looked into seeing how that's going to play out yet. I got to look at that, though. That's kind of what I do. So I'll probably be looking at that tomorrow morning. Yeah, the subscribers have been going good here. My daughter jokes saying, and my daughter and my son were saying that, yeah, you're going to get 100,000 subscribers on California before you do Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. And that one's already at like 60,000, but the California one, I mean, there's so many people, and you guys are very passionate about the weather here in California too. I remember when I lived in Los Angeles, it was a big deal just when normal rain would fall, and, wave action and Santa Anas and thunderstorms and mountain snow and desert blowing dust, and the weather's a big deal no matter where you are. Last year was not El Nino. That is correct. Yeah, some of Northwest California has been doing great there. I see Julie mentioned 20 inches of rain here in Crescent City since January 1st. Yeah, the 8 to 14 day has been looking good also. So if I click on that, I think it's right here. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. So they are definitely, the Climate Prediction Center is definitely picking up on that extended forecast. Pretty strong signal there. What are we looking at? 40, 50, 60, 60 to 70. Yeah, pretty good odds there for much of California, including some of Nevada as well. I don't have an Arizona channel. I try to include Arizona at times. I still work at Alaska Airlines. My ultimate goal is to become a storm chaser and to do this full time. But until then, I kind of need my day job before I can make it financially viable. But if I can do that, then I can concentrate on things a little bit more, and then it's hard to put the time I need to make individual forecasts a little bit better. So I try to stick to what the overall pattern is coming. And a lot of times you can see what's coming for Southern California. Then you kind of know in turn what's coming downstream as far as frontal systems into Arizona or New Mexico and Nevada also. It's kind of a fine line. Yeah, I'm sure there's studies being worked on right now, but my entire take on La Nina, basically, you kind of get the variable jet stream and you get this big ridging here over the Pacific Ocean, kind of different. Where at El Nino, you get the strong jet stream that's extended across the ocean and it points into the West Coast. You tend to get the jet stream further back across the Western Pacific, and you get the big ridging here out across the Pacific Ocean. You get more of a variable jet stream, and it kind of includes the Pacific Northwest a lot of times in a north or a northwest flow, which keep things a bit cooler. But it seemed like that troughing kept extending further south, and that La Nina troughing just continued to bring storms and drop a bit further south into California just over and over and over again last year. Yeah, so far so good as far as drought is concerned. I see that Vanilla Sky mentions it. Yeah, there's some pretty warm temperatures that are going to be coming this weekend. That's a good point. Let me do this here really quick. Let's look at the GFS. I want to kind of look at surface temperature here. I have not looked at this in a day or two, but as we go through, so there's that storm system kind of kicks out. Let's see that ridging coming. I mean, there's kind of a mixed signal there, but there you can kind of see it, the above average conditions here across some of the southwest. But then we're going to start to bring that jet stream across. You can kind of see that cooler air trying to make its way in here. But the surface temperature isn't the best to be looking at for that. Let's do this. Let's actually do the GFS ensemble here. So you can see the jet stream right now, and that's that satellite imagery we were looking at there. There it is right here. And if we look back to the GFS, there it is here, and you can see Hawaii there. Now, as we go on in through the week, this ridging here, you can see that bump, and we're looking at about 39,000 feet, but you can clearly see the ridge there, pretty robust one right there. But it may not last too long as we head off into the future. You can see that jet stream is trying to make its way towards the state of California again. Then you got that southwest flow, and you kind of see that trough in the ensembles there, and pretty strong jet stream. So yeah, the signal is there with both the GFS and the European model here. And I mean, even if you go off into February a little bit more, I mean, that's a pretty strong signal there also. So definitely something fun to watch. Yeah, you guys have had some pretty unstable slab areas up there. I mean, even let me go back down here. You can see there's still considerable now. So you're just going to add to that here. So it's probably going to be considerable. It may even be high in some individual areas. Mount Shasta is still high right now, actually, too. This is such a cool site. I mean, you can just see all kinds of good stuff. People send in pictures and whatnot and all kinds of stuff. Tells you below the tree line, near, above. Tells it like the weather and the observations and active avalanches and whatnot. You can see this one here just above Panther Meadows, cause natural. So yeah, good stuff there. Always worth checking that. Every year, I mean, up and down the West Coast, every single year, somebody gets caught in an avalanche and gets killed. And a lot of times it's multiple people. Yeah, when those jet streams are slamming into the coastline, that definitely can bring some big turbulence. Does El Nino affect Northern California or Southern California more? Well, the thing with El Nino is that a lot of times it's not that perceptible for Northern California because Northern California is more affected by just the typical progression of Rossby waves and troughs that move through and kind of include the Pacific Northwest. And a lot of times those will include Northern California, but they won't include Southern California. But however, when you get El Nino and you enhance this jet stream and you've got a better pressure gradient here because, of course, the water is warmer and the poles are colder, and then you get this jet stream that reaches across the Pacific, then you tend to bring wetter periods during El Nino for Southern California. But that doesn't mean that Northern California also can't get it. It's just a lot more variable, and the precipitation up north is dependent more on kind of the natural troughing and the Rossby waves with the tropospheric polar vortex. Hope that kind of makes sense. Yeah, let's go back to the radar here. I see a couple of requests for that. Yeah, here comes your heavy rain into Sacramento as we speak. Put that into motion and see what's going off on the coastline here. There were a few lightning strikes showing up on here too if you guys are just joining the channel. Yeah, there's not been that great, especially lower snow levels have not been very intense this year, for sure. Click that like button. Yes, please. How many people are in the chat here now? 385, not bad. I get a lot of comments still, too, on the Pacific Northwest Weather Channel about people asking, hey, where are the California videos and whatnot? So I tried to do that little video up there today to try to tell people that, yeah, I've got an entire new channel that covers just California, and I try to include a lot of the Southwest. I did live in Tonopah, Nevada for a while too. I did weather observing there with the National Weather Service for about 3.5 months or 4 months, something like that. Pretty interesting out there. I was doing manual weather observations. There was this manual salometer, just all kinds of crazy old weather equipment. And they were just setting up one of the high-tech ASOS out there, which is now how they do things, just kind of an automatic weather station out there. Yeah, I'm hoping we can get, but it's very unlikely we're going to get those extremely cold storms this year. That's the only thing. It's probably going to be El Nino fueled, higher snow levels, but the storm potential is still there. And especially as we go towards the end of the month, we have that good signal showing up. And let's go back out to this here really quick and see if I can overlay that with... Yeah, if you guys are just joining, I've been showing this earlier as well. You can see there is some lightning firing up here right off the coastline. This is going to be a decent chance of some thunderstorms across Southern California tomorrow. As early as tomorrow morning, you might start to hear some rumbles of thunder out there. See if I can do that. Sometimes this GOES 18 satellite is a little bit wonky here, but... Yeah, expecting pretty good amounts there. 1 to 2 inches in San Diego. That's probably going to be something similar to being correct. Santa Cruz Mountains, 3,185 feet. No snow, 48 degrees. Yeah, it is a shame. That's the thing about these El Nino years. The lower snow levels generally do not do well. Yeah, Hurricane Hillary. That was a pretty wild time. What a summer we had there with that tropical storm. I mean, it was a hurricane and got pretty close to California as well, and it made landfall in Southern California as a tropical storm. First time in a long time. Pacific Northwest Weather Lover found your second channel. Very nice. You worked for the company that built the GOES satellites. That must have been fun. These are very impressive pieces of technology. If you guys ever want to do some deep dive and check out the GOES satellite and how they're built, very impressive. I mean, what I wouldn't have given for I remember when I was in my teens, there was, just, you could go on AOL or whatnot or something, and you could kind of get like a rudimentary satellite imagery sometimes, and half the time it didn't work. And now you can just like click right on the website and you've got like the whole planet, and you can look at water vapor, and I mean, you can see individual fires burning in the Sierra Nevada and across Canada and whatnot. And you can see the smoke. It's just an amazing technology. Yeah, I do go over the air quality index sometime, but I haven't been doing that recent. I do it much less in the winter time, even though, sometimes like maybe towards this weekend or whatnot, when you get the ridge building up over the area towards the end of the week and the weekend, I might look at it then. I don't tend to look at it when we get rainfall and whatnot, but once we start getting into the fire season, I definitely start watching the air quality index for sure. So let's take a look here. I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, so I'm going to update this and see if, looks like that flood advisory, did they extend it? They might have. They got the flood advisory out another hour. So watch out if you guys are out driving about, especially in some of these areas just east of San Francisco, Sacramento. Watch out for the water coming over the roadways and those urban and small stream flooding out there. And this is eventually going to be coming on shore here into Southern California, but not yet. Click on the Sacramento Doppler there as well. You can kind of see that moderate and heavy rainfall embedded. Yeah, you guys remember America Online? I mean, what a wild time. I remember when you first got that as a dial-up modem and the page would take like 3 minutes just to load so you could see your email. No snow on the ground there at Wrightwood, huh? 6,300 feet. Yeah, it's still, man, gosh, I was hoping we would get a little bit better snowfall this year. And it's crazy because we've had these systems kind of consistently running through. They're just not big snow producers. And it's not like last year where the snow levels were just wildly low across some of Northern California at times. And the Sierra Nevada was just piling it up. I mean, Lake Tulare reappeared. It was just, what a wild year, you know? Checking out the Las Vegas radar here. Looks like some showers are still moving across there. Some pretty good rainfall. Looks like it's going to income for places like Las Vegas as well. Yeah, it looks like, so they're talking about already 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches across some of the area. Just, you can see portions of Sonoma and Marin counties. And also, it heads up across some, you can see Santa Ana's right here. Doesn't include Los Angeles right now, but it may tomorrow. They have time to update that still. You can see there is a flood watch. If I click on San Diego itself, you can see it. This goes all the way on in through tomorrow about 9 p.m. Urban and road flooding in areas with poor drainage. So, I mean, it shouldn't be too damaging here, but that's easy for me to say. If you're, once you get caught up in something like this, though, when water over the roadway can become a big deal for you pretty quick. And I saw this map a little bit earlier too as well. I mean, look at some of these precip totals, especially across the higher terrain, up over 2 inches. Oceanside. And there's still hope for some of the Los Angeles metro to get some decent rainfall out of this as well. And there's going to be some locally higher amounts also with some of the thunderstorm activity rolling through. And this is Los Angeles National Weather Service here. Again, talking about some of that nuisance flooding, slick roadways, dangerous lightning. So you got to watch out for that. And actually, isolated water spouts are possible with this system here. I forgot to point that out also. Maybe some isolated power outages, but if you're out on the coast or you can get out there tomorrow, maybe check that out. In fact, if we look at this, if you scroll through here, you can kind of see some of the heavier shower activity. That was probably when the best chance would be some point tomorrow morning here. And if we go to severe weather and maybe we'll look at significant tornado parameters, anything show up here at all? Not too much. How about Cape? There is some Cape out there. A little bit of thunderstorm potential with that. Helicity tracks, just kind of showing rotation in the atmosphere. I mean, there's a little bit out there, but, you know, I'd kind of be surprised if there was tornadoes rolling across the Los Angeles metro tomorrow or anything of that nature. What else was I going to show here? This Coco Roz thing is fun too. You can actually become a Coco Roz observer if you go to the website. And you can see where everybody reports their rainfall out there. Did get some decent amounts across Southern California also. 1 1/4 inch at my station in Santa Rosa. Very nice. Yeah, you had a couple tornadoes roll through the Los Angeles metro last year. I remember that. Yeah, maybe we'll get one of those big storms as we go on into the end of the month. There's that potential. Yeah, if there's a tornado tomorrow, it's probably going to be very brief and weak. I mean, I shouldn't call the tornado weak, but still, if you get hit by it, it could do some damage. But it'll probably just be along the coastal areas is what I'm thinking. Maybe water spout activity that moves on shore briefly. Yeah, pretty high snow levels going on right now. I see the talk about the Warm Pineapple Express in Mammoth right now. Yeah, glad you guys could join me here. Thanks for the kind words. 360 people watching. Not bad. Let's look at this also. Let's look at the high resolution rapid refresh. This model is pretty cool because it runs every single hour. It can be kind of wonky at times, but it's fun. And you can kind of pick up the timing fairly well sometimes. Sometimes this model performs quite well, and sometimes not so well. But I mean, look at that. You can kind of see almost like a mesoscale low here forms just to the southwest of San Diego and moves right into Baja there. But again, I mean, there's still some pretty good rain from all the way from San Luis Obispo across some of Ventura County there and Los Angeles Oceanside. How do the deserts do? I mean, that's not bad for the deserts either, It looks like a pretty beneficial rainfall there. And then you can see as we go through the day tomorrow, some of that tries to move across some of Nevada, Las Vegas. And there's some showery weather behind that. March 22nd, 2023, LA suburb of Montebello. Yes, that one, it did a little bit of damage there too. That's right. Okay, so what date was that car fire that EF3 tornado? I mean, just a thermally driven monster out there was just very powerful. I remember some of the video from that, very intense. Yeah, some of the rain, I mean, it does show some of it here, but it's just not going to, it's never not quite as much. But that's not bad rain, actually. Man, when I lived out in Tonopah, Nevada here, it rained like a half an inch one time, and it was just ripping huge gullies in that soil out there. It was just intense. I'd never seen anything like it. Moving from Seattle out there across the desert was just weird watching some of the gullies washing out and whatnot, just in not even that much rain. It was just really intense. So it doesn't take much to get kind of crazy out across some of the desert areas. Actually, I was working out a little bit earlier there. I might go out and you got to work out daily. You got to take care of yourself. Trying to read some of these chat messages coming through here. Let's see. I think I'm Yeah, the whole naming storms things is kind of, I don't know. It's just a thing for clicks, in my opinion. I mean, whatever. If you want to name a storm, who cares? I mean, it's better for tropical storms like hurricanes that can last for a week or more. But if you're just kind of naming a trough moving across the country and stuff like that, it can be confusing to people. Let's just put it that way. And then every 6 hours, the HER runs out 48. But yeah, I mean, look at some of this precip along some of the central coast. It looks pretty intense as we go through tonight and tomorrow morning. I mean, looks It's a little bit intimidating there, actually, for some of the areas. Then you can see that precipitation wrap up. But we also do have this. Let me show you this as well, because we do have another system. I should mention this. As we go through Tuesday night into Wednesday, there's another little rainmaker rolling through here. And some of the models are actually showing a little bit of that precip getting down to Southern California as well. And there's actually some moderate rain back there. After that is when we're going to start to build that ridge. Actually, let's look at that real quick here. Doesn't quite show up on the European model of 18Z. Let's go out a little. There you can see kind of that high pressure starting to build in as we go through Thursday night into Friday here. You can kind of see that high pressure taking over. As some of the storm systems get shunted up into the Pacific Northwest here, but then we wait for our turn to see if that jet's going to get rolling across the Pacific. March 1983 tornado from Long Beach to Los Angeles. Yeah, I remember that one too. Oh, yeah, I've almost forgot about that Burning Man. That was a pretty intense. I had a friend that was stuck out there, and he was texting me stuff. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, Tulare. Lake Tulare. Yeah, I should look into that more, too. I mean, because there's a lot of groundwater being taken out, and you know the land is subsiding. I mean, I think pretty much everybody knows that across California. So what I hear is what happens is when you take that groundwater out of it, then you get kind of the settling of the land and it subsides. And then when it rains again, you can't replenish those aquifers underground as much. So that water runs off a lot, and you're really not replenishing that water underneath the ground. So that kind of, just, you don't need to be a meteorologist or a geologist or whatever to realize that that's probably not a good thing. The European just usually is a better performing model, and a lot of times it's more consistent as well. And when I look run to run, a lot of times the European will have gradual changes versus just some of the wild changes the GFS goes through. Where the GFS kind of actually does okay is that the GFS tends to show you some longer range patterns. And I'll pay attention to those a little bit because a lot of times it can tell you when the pattern change is coming, although it might be really hyping up the strength of the storms, or it'll show you these huge rainfall amounts, but it does capture some of the extended forecast. Not bad. It can kind of give you a heads up. Like when we had the big heat wave back in 2021 across much of the Pacific Northwest and up into Canada, the GFS was sniffing that out early, and it was showing just ridiculous temperatures. But those verified, and it's got its uses a little bit here, but mostly I just use the GFS to kind of supplement the European. And when the European shows something, if the GFS starts to agree with it, or they're both kind of in cahoots, then you know that you can start to increase your confidence a little bit. Where is the greatest thunderstorm potential for tomorrow? So if we take a look at that here, let's do this. Let's go back to the European model here, and we'll just kind of look at severe weather. Let's see how this is doing. It doesn't look like this is doing too bad here. You guys saw that some of the lightning strikes. I was showing them earlier anyway, but if we go on into tomorrow morning, you could see some of that moving across the region as we go through tomorrow morning. That would be about 8 a.m. That's 7 a.m. right there. So don't be surprised to get woken up. Look at the LA Metro. You might get a thunderstorm or two there. San Diego, you're not out of the woods there, and maybe continuing on into the early afternoon as that system moves out. But yeah, there's definitely the potential. And you can see Southern California is here, and this is a European model. We're looking at lightning flash density potential. Yeah, that's the thing. AA Ron mentions that about the GFS showing a tropical storm hitting California. It picks up on some of that stuff sometimes. So I don't totally ignore it or anything like that. As an overall thing, the European is a better performing model, but sometimes the GFS will latch on to some of those pattern changes, and it gets it right sometimes. What is the code now for that? The checkout code is West Coast for the Tempest. It should be just West Coast, yes. And I think there's a link you can click on like today's video, for example. Yeah, who makes... I mean, the GFS is basically the American model, and the European is done by, of course, European countries out there. And then there's all kinds of little high-resolution models. And sometimes universities will build their own models as well. And yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a North American model. There's a Canadian model. There's a Japanese model. There's a UK model. There's a German model, if I didn't mention that. I don't think I've looked at... When did this one run? Oh, this is actually back on January 1st. So this one's getting old right now. Let's take a look at this, actually. Let's back that up. And we will go to Oceanic, and we'll go to Northeast. So what are we looking at here? Are we looking at 7-day, 500 millibars? So even on like the CFS here, this is something where you can look out in long range here. And once in a while, the CFS will get some things right. But this is a pretty potent signal here as you go on into early portion of February we'd be looking at. I mean, you got some troughing here. You'd have a strong jet stream riding into the West Coast. Some of that troughing kind of hanging on. And then maybe some of that enhancement due to El Nino out here. You know, who knows? We're looking too far out. It's not really even worth looking at. Just kind of more of a novelty than anything else. Chris Naughty, thank you very much. A Southern Cal ski bum in the house. You must do a lot of trips up the Sierra Nevada. Thank you for the kind words, Evelyn. Yeah, I'm hoping that we can get that back in here. I mean, my goodness. Let's run through the CFS extended. This is a 10-day running total here. Yeah, I mean, it's showing a pretty good signal into California, as you can see, but still, you got to take it with a grain of salt. I wish it was a little bit closer here, but we'll get more and more excited as we go, and then you can see out towards maybe the end of February as well, into early March. You know, the El Nino can still show its face all the way on and through March. Thanks for the generosity, Chris. April 1 through 5. I would go with climatology, Debbie777. But yeah, there's no real way to tell with any accuracy at that far out. Do I think that meteorologists copy off me? I'm sure that I've gotten other ideas from meteorologists. So there's probably people. I mean, I know there's some people locally here in the Pacific Northwest that, tend to copy my style maybe a little bit or whatever. I don't have a problem with that. I'm sure I've copied things other people have done. You kind of do it subconsciously probably a lot of times too. Yeah, I just try to, I think that I kind of just have a passion for weather, and I like to just kind of teach that to other people. Weather is extremely fun, and it can, when you got nothing else going on, you can really keep yourself entertained, and it's kind of fun to know when a storm is going to roll in. And then you can kind of prepare your day for it. If a storm is coming, you can go skiing or go catch the snow falling in the mountains, or you can wait for the thunderstorms to roll in. I mean, it's really fun to take pictures of lightning. It's fun to do drone footage when things flood. It's fun to put your GoPro on your vehicle and go drive around when a storm is happening. It's extremely entertaining. It doesn't. And that's why there's thousands of storm chasers that chase tornadoes out in the plains. It is very fun. And once you start to see some good stuff, you really get hooked. Santa Maria. So you guys can see some of that rain is coming your guys' way there. San Luis Obispo. It's on its way. Kind of cool here. You can click on some of these buoys out here across the ocean also. You can see their dominant wave period. sea surface temperature out there. Some of these even have cameras on them. I think this one actually does, but I think that only takes it during daylight hours. You can't rule out some thunderstorm activity across the Bay Area, but it's probably a better chance the further south you go towards Southern California, as I mentioned earlier. Is there a great West Coast university for meteorology? I mean, UCLA, the University of Washington's pretty good. There's some others. I'm just not thinking of them off the top of my head. But there's, Norman, Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma out there is pretty good as well. El Nino is not going to happen again next year. Actually, let me show you guys that here. Look at the European seasonal, and we're actually going to bounce out a little bit more here. Actually, we'll look at the entire basin. Let's go to, and we'll go to oceanic monthly sea surface temperatures, and we'll go here. So this is where we are during January 2024. There's California right there. There's Hawaii. And this is warmer than normal water. That's classic El Nino signature. And what that does is you got more water vapor in the air. The temperature is going to be warmer naturally because the surface is warmer. So you tend to have a better gradient, pressure gradient, because you've got the cooler polar air here moving around. And this is kind of a general rule. But as we go on in towards February, March, you guys see a pattern here? See that warmer water being eaten away? April, May, June, July. That's a potentially developing, even if it's just neutral or La Nina, that changes a lot of the pattern here across the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, I'm always trying to throw new things at you. And the more I'm able to make this financially viable, like I said, I can put more into it. And I look forward to doing that eventually. I just have to get my ducks in order, and I got to get the channels, get a few more subscribers going, and just make sure I continue to do things daily and just make it part of my daily routine to put out these videos and to try to and sometimes I will, on my days off, I'll just sit there and I'll just try to think of ideas of what new things I can teach and stuff like that, so I can continue to make it fun and keep you guys coming back, and hopefully it's entertaining and educational. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, you guys, KJ and Cindy. We're going to wrap up the live stream here probably pretty soon. Just wanted to get everybody on the same page with what is upcoming here. You can see Sacramento's just now starting to get into some of that heavier rain ongoing. Look at Woodland probably getting hit hard as well. Lakeport probably got some heavy rain there also. Yeah, I mean, it's too bad California doesn't have that. It's like a normal climate where you're just getting hammered with those snow levels. I mean, it would just seem like they were down to 3,000, 2,500 feet just over and over again. And I think we've only had one storm that even brought them down anywhere near that so far. Most of these storms have been 6, 7, I think a couple times down towards 45 or 5,000, but just briefly. Thanks for the kind words, Patricia. Kameshwari Kate is in the house. Thank you. The U.S. military has some of its own meteorologists and whatnot, too. They do their own thing a lot of times. Pouring in Norbay. Yeah, there's going to be more. There's going to be more shower activity moving through tomorrow. Absolutely. But the big stuff is coming for Southern California as we go through tomorrow. And here, if you guys are just joining, I'll show you this again. We'll go to California, precipitation, composite reflectivity. So this would be where we are right about now. And it's really underdoing some of the precipitation amount. So I probably shouldn't even show that. In fact, let me just show the HRRR because it looks like it has a little bit of a better handle on it. You can see it kind of shows that precip a little bit better, but it's still underdoing it kind of also. But as we go through tonight, you can see maybe a couple more rounds of some heavy rain going through the Bay Area. That feature looks a little bit interesting there. Would not rule out a thunderstorm with that. And this goes out to about 4. Actually, no, this is 3 a.m. here. But you can see that precipitation quickly approaching Southern California. If we back up an hour there, you see that heavier rain starting as we go on through early this morning. Anybody watching across San Diego or Los Angeles or Ventura, Santa Barbara County might get woken up by some of that rain. And this has the best thunderstorm potential probably with these clusters of storms here as we go through tomorrow morning. And then some of that activity will continue on in through the afternoon as well. Can a microburst happen? They can. Yeah, if you have the right conditions for it. I mean, a lot of times it takes quite a bit of dry air. But yeah, they can happen in California for sure. I mean, sometimes you get some thunderstorm activity here and you drop down some cool air into some dry air below it and you can get microburst activity, sure. We're not expecting microburst activity. We're not looking at thunderstorms of that are that powerful here this round. We're not looking at the huge updrafts. So, I mean, yeah, it's not something that I would highlight in any kind of a briefing with this round. Lightning can happen. Yes, you may get... Oh, Nilo's in the house here too. I see that. I just made Nilo a moderator there. Nilo won a weather station. Actually, he didn't win a weather station. People on the channel chipped in money and bought him a weather station. Ensenada in the house. And actually, there is a pretty good... Here, we'll check this one out here as well. So this was the 02. The only thing I don't like about the HRRR is you can see I'm bouncing around here and it just kind of drops all its information about the lightning flash density here for a couple hours. Then it brings it back. But you can see some of this activity as we go into tomorrow morning. But then again, it took it away for a couple hours there and it just kind of left it out. So I don't know what's going on with that. So let's go a little bit further back. Anything? Yeah. Bueller? No. Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about the HRRR. It just kind of takes away its data sometimes when it's showing this lightning potential here. So that didn't do us much good. But the European kind of is a better map as well. I'll show you this because I see people asking about lightning here. So yeah, this would be tomorrow morning. You see some of this activity here? That's kind of what we're eyeing right now. And you can't rule one out up and down the coast also as you go through the afternoon. But that should be over as we go on into Tuesday morning. Let's see that next system. Does it have any lightning potential with it? Maybe. It tries to approach a coastline here as we go through Wednesday. Doesn't look like too big of a deal there, though. And then we're going to dry out for a few days before potentially that storm system or the jet stream starts rolling across the Pacific Ocean here. You guys are wondering what we're looking at here. This is Australia to the bottom left. There's Japan. Hawaii would be right here. And there's California right there. And what we've been watching here. So this is the system coming through now. And then we're going to have one more system that rides up over the top of this ridge here. And then we're going to build a ridge. And we're going to dry out for a few days. You can see that ridge here right on California. But look at this jet stream. It's really getting consolidated and start to march across Pacific. You can see extend north of Hawaii there, pointing back into the state. And that is the potential we have as we go towards the end of the month. And that would be some interesting storm scenarios here for California. So we're kind of looking at that. It's still a fantasy forecast right now. This could still change, but the confidence is increasing pretty rapidly because you can see if we go out to about hour 120, you can see a pretty good jet streaking across the ocean. So with each and every day, we'll start to increase confidence with this setup. Can creeks overflow? Is that? I think that there's probably people in here that can answer that for you. I'm sure that creeks can overflow. Yep. Modesto in the house. I used to live in California. I still have family down there. And I come down there to storm chase once in a while too. I lived in Whittier, California when I was down there. Yeah, if you guys are in an area where heavy rain is falling, just keep that in the back of your mind that, you're probably going to be okay. I don't think that people's homes are going to be getting flooded out or anything like that. I mean, that's something that could happen if a bank overtops and runs into somebody's house. But this isn't like life-threatening, deadly flooding. Unless you're out driving around and you plow into some waterway or a road gets kind of washed out or something, or you go into a ditch, you should be okay. But just you might want to stay at home until that heavy rain stops. It's usually a good advice. And look at this. It looks like some heavier rain is still moving across. Look at San Francisco. Looks like some heavy rain falling just north. South San Francisco looks like it's getting it. Burlingame, pretty close. Half Moon Bay, decent shower rolling through there right now. So yeah, these bands of showers are going to be rolling through here as we go on into tomorrow. Whittier quake, October 1st, 1987. I was at UCLA with friends hanging out there for a while in 1994, and I left about, I think 2 weeks before the Northridge quake, and I was joking with my friend as I left. I said, you guys are going to get an earthquake here pretty quick. Just kind of joking. And they're like, oh, thanks. And then sure enough, the Northridge quake hit in 94, but yeah, it was pretty intense. Bakersfield. Yeah, I mean, you should get some rainfall out in Bakersfield. Here, let's look at that actually. Let's go to... Let's actually go to 3-hour precip here and kind of move through this. Yeah, it looks like you're going to get a decent round through here in Bakersfield. This is just 3-hour precipitation here. I mean, you can see some areas getting up over a half an inch in 3 hours. Not bad across California. In some areas, actually much more. Look at that one just kind of moving across northern Los Angeles metro. They're pretty intense. Yeah, watch out for thunderstorms tomorrow morning. Early in the morning, that rain's going to be rolling through Ventura County. Yeah, that Northridge quake was pretty shallow too. That's why it was so damaging. I mean, it depends on how far up you're going to Tehachapi. I mean, some of those higher peaks out there could get a little bit of snowfall. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live stream there here, but I will do my normal briefing tomorrow morning. And thanks you guys for stopping by. And if we start to get more confidence in that as well as we go towards the end of the month, I'll definitely be doing live streams for that upcoming as also. As you guys can see, this is the potential we have as we go on in towards the end of the month. This jet stream from Japan all the way across Hawaii, pointed at California. Cross your fingers for that one. Hopefully it can bring some beneficial rains with it. And yeah, still kind of a fantasy forecast, but we'll be watching closely. Yeah, have a good night. Thanks for the kind words, everybody out there. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning. We'll do that daily briefing, and I will see you guys then.